Welcome back to USA War Stories, where the bravery of our heroes lives on, and every mission reminds us what true courage stands for.
A group of young American soldiers from the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry, step out of their Huey helicopters into the tall, dry grass of the Ia Drang Valley. The air is heavy with heat and silence, the kind that hides danger. Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore looks across the vast clearing, knowing they are outnumbered but determined to hold their ground. None of them realize they've just walked into one of the bloodiest battles of the Vietnam War. As the troops set up a defensive perimeter, silence grips the valley. Then, cracks of gunfire shatter the calm. Hidden North Vietnamese soldiers open fire from the tree line, bullets whizzing past the Americans' helmets. The first few men fall, and confusion erupts. Lieutenant Colonel Moore shouts orders, calling for air support and radioing coordinates. The soldiers dig into the dirt, firing back into the thick jungle. The Battle of Ia Drang has begun, chaos, fear, and bravery colliding in a single moment. The gunfire intensifies. Moore's men are surrounded on three sides. Every burst from the jungle feels closer than the last. Radio calls scream for backup, but helicopters can't land under heavy fire. The air smells of gunpowder and burning grass. Soldiers press their helmets into the dirt as mortars explode around them. They realize they are fighting a hidden army, disciplined, invisible, and determined to wipe them out. Every second becomes a battle to stay alive in the unforgiving heat of Ia Drang. As the trapped soldiers fight to hold their position, the distant thundering of jets grows louder. F-100 Super Sabres roar overhead, streaking across the sky before releasing bombs into the jungle. The ground shakes, the explosions tearing through the hidden enemy lines. Helicopters swoop in, dropping ammunition and evacuating the wounded under fire. The air is thick with smoke, fire, and dust, yet for a brief moment, the cavalry breathes again. In the chaos of the valley, air power becomes their only lifeline. As the bombing quiets, the men tighten their perimeter. They dig foxholes, set up machine guns, and prepare for another wave. The jungle around them whispers. Unseen enemies move in the shadows. Lieutenant Colonel Moore walks from trench to trench, steadying his men with calm words and firm orders. The wounded are carried to the center for evacuation. The sun begins to set, painting the valley red. They know the next attack will come in the dark. Every man grips his rifle tighter, waiting for nightfall. Darkness falls over Ia Drang. The jungle becomes alive with whispers and distant footsteps. Then, the night erupts. The North Vietnamese launch a massive assault, their silhouettes flashing in muzzle light. Traces cut through the darkness like fiery comets. The Americans fire back blindly, holding the line under constant pressure. Mortar explosions light up the valley in bursts of orange and white. Radio calls overlap in panic. Amid the chaos, one truth is clear. Survival depends on never giving an inch. In the chaos of the night assault, one platoon becomes isolated from the main force. Surrounded by thick jungle and relentless fire, they cling to the faint radio signal guiding them back. Shadows move between trees, and the distant crack of gunfire reminds them of the enemy closing in. Every step is cautious, every heartbeat loud in the silence between shots. Their only chance of survival is to stay together, trust in their training, and wait for the morning light that might bring reinforcement. Amid the relentless firefight, medics rush through the chaos, dragging the wounded from open ground to relative safety. Bullets kick up dirt around them as they move, smoke and flames illuminating their urgent path. Their hands are steady, faces grim, hearts racing. Every life saved is a battle won against the odds. The cries of the injured mix with the thunder of gunfire, yet these medics push forward, embodying courage under fire in the blood-soaked valley of Ia Drang. Through the chaos, it becomes clear that the North Vietnamese are not attacking randomly. They move with precision, flanking the Americans and cutting off potential escape routes. Hidden snipers track every movement, while mortar teams strike from concealed positions. The valley, once seemingly open and defensible, now feels like a trap. Moore studies the terrain, radioing for reinforcements and calling in artillery strikes. Every decision counts. One misstep could cost lives in this deadly chess match of war. By midday, the fighting intensifies. The enemy closes in, and American soldiers are forced into brutal close-quarters combat. Muzzle flashes and the roar of automatic fire fill the air. Every step through the tall grass could hide a deadly ambush. Soldiers duck, fire, and reload instinctively, relying on their training and each other. Explosions throw dirt and debris across the battlefield, while the cries of the wounded echo through the valley. Survival is no longer about strategy. It's about reflexes, courage, and sheer willpower. As the fighting rages, medevac helicopters brave enemy fire to reach the trapped soldiers. The thump of rotor blades cuts through the chaos, stirring dust and smoke into violent swirls. Pilots hover dangerously low while wounded men are rushed aboard under constant attack. Each flight risks being shut down, yet they keep coming back, again and again. The sky above Ia Drang becomes a lifeline of courage. Every liftoff is a miracle, every return a gamble with death. Hours drag on like days. Ammunition runs low, water is scarce, and exhaustion grips every man. Still, they hold their positions, refusing to yield. Radio calls bring a flicker of hope, reinforcements on the way. The soldiers tighten their lines, scanning the tree line for movement. Each sound from the jungle could mean attack or salvation. Smoke drifts across the valley as the sun burns overhead. Surrounded and battered, they cling to discipline, courage, and faith that help will arrive before nightfall. As the sun dips low, the rhythmic thump of helicopter blades echoes across the valley once more. But this time, it brings hope. Reinforcements from the 2nd Battalion land under fire, leaping from Hueys into chaos. They fan out quickly, joining the battered troops who've been fighting for survival all day. The fresh soldiers bring ammunition, strength, and the morale the men desperately need. Together, they push back against the enemy lines. For the first time in days, victory feels within reach, but the cost has already been immense. With reinforcements in place, Colonel Moore orders a counterattack. Artillery booms from nearby hills, shaking the earth as American troops surge forward through smoke and fire. The enemy, once hidden and confident, now feels the full force of coordinated air and ground power. Mortars rain down, shredding jungle cover. The battle turns into a storm of dust, flame, and thunder. Yet even as the North Vietnamese retreat, every inch gained is paid for in blood. Ia Drang has become a crucible, forging soldiers in the fire of survival. As the guns fall silent, the valley lies scarred and smoking. Craters mark the earth where trees once stood. The air hangs heavy with the smell of burnt grass and gunpowder. Medics move quietly among the fallen, friend and foe alike. For the survivors, the silence feels louder than the battle itself. They've held their ground, but the cost is staggering. Under the orange glow of a dying day, the soldiers of Ia Drang understand the brutal truth. No one leaves this place unchanged. Morning breaks over Ia Drang, revealing the full toll of the battle. Soldiers move silently through the field, collecting dog tags and covering the fallen with ponchos. The once vibrant grass is trampled and blackened by fire. Lieutenant Colonel Moore stands quietly, his face hardened by grief and pride. Over 70 Americans have died, and hundreds of enemy soldiers lie in the jungle beyond. The valley is still, but the echoes of the fight linger in every heartbeat. The price of survival is etched into the soil itself. As dawn turns to midday, scouts report the enemy is retreating into the dense jungle. The North Vietnamese have suffered heavy losses, yet their withdrawal is silent and organized, a sign this war is far from over. Smoke curls upward from burned foliage as American artillery pounds distant hills one last time. The valley grows eerily quiet again, the sound of battle replaced by the hum of insects and the crackle of fire. Victory feels hollow. Both sides have paid dearly in blood and silence. That night, under a pale moon, exhausted soldiers write letters home. Some thank God they are alive. Others struggle to find words for what they've seen. The flicker of a camp lantern glows against tired faces, each man lost in thought. Lieutenant Colonel Moore pens his own note, not of victory, but of remembrance. He knows families will soon receive telegrams bearing the worst news. In the still air of Ia Drang, ink meets paper, and the echoes of battle turn into memories too heavy to forget. Days later, helicopters lift off from the valley, carrying weary survivors back to base. The men stare out over the scarred land below, the battlefield that changed them forever. Some remain silent, others whisper names that will never be answered again. As the jungle fades beneath the rota wash, the weight of what they endured settles in. They are leaving Ia Drang, but the battle will follow them home, in their dreams, their memories, and the silence that no one else will understand. The Battle of Ia Drang was over, but its impact echoed far beyond that valley. It was the first major clash between U.S. and North Vietnamese forces, a brutal test that revealed how long and deadly the Vietnam War would become. Survivors carried home not just medals, but memories carved into their souls. Historians would call it a turning point. Soldiers would call it hell. In the quiet fields of Ia Drang, the wind still whispers through the grass, where courage, sacrifice, and sorrow became forever entwined. Thank you for watching this journey through the Battle of Ia Drang. Every story from the battlefield reminds us of courage, sacrifice, and the human spirit under fire. If you want to see more real and gripping war stories from America's history, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Only on USA War Stories, the true stories of heroism you won't find anywhere else. Subscribe now and never miss a story.